Alrighty guys, welcome back to another one. Once again, I live in a crowded neighborhood, so if you hear some odd noises in the background, just ignore them. But today, we have Remington Mag Buckshot, 12 gauge, 3.5 inch, 18 pellet double-aught, max dram equivalent, and we have Cannon out here once again. You guys might have saw her walk underneath the table there. But yeah, I have never seen these in person before. Well, I was at a store here locally, and I came across one box of them, so I got them. These are really cool to me. This is the first 3.5 inch 12 gauge buckshot I've ever seen in person. I see the 10 gauge version all the time around here. Never the 12 gauge though. To make that more clear, Remington does not load a 10 gauge 3.5 inch buckshot shell of any kind, at least not anymore. Federal does. So did Winchester, but not anymore. But Federal still does. I see those everywhere, but I have not ever seen any company's 12 gauge 3.5 inch buckshot until today. So today's snooze and drink combo is one that actually pairs really well together. We have L80. Now the regular version of this is called L81. We just call it L8 around here for short. But this is a lime and ginger. No, sorry, it's a ginger and citrus flavor soft drink. Pop, whatever you want to call it. But yeah, I figured it might go good with this one, Odin's Extreme Blend number 79, which is lime, ginger, and citrus. And they do go really well together. If you guys have never seen L8, it's sort of local around here. There are a few other states that have it, but mainly the states around where I live, it's a local thing to us. It's a really good one. Let me know if you guys have it where you live and what you think about it, because here it's like our regional soft drink is the only way I can think of to put it. Yeah, let me know, guys. Anyway, back to this. The box is, well, on the front, very bland, for lack of a better term. There's nothing on the top of it aside from Express Buckshot 3.5 inch Magnum, Remington, and 5 plastic shot shells up here in the top right corner. That's pretty much all it is. The side of it is our specs. It doesn't read those off. Here is our buckshot sizing chart. It's recommended for deer and black bear, 18 pellets. This should be right around a 2.25 ounce load, but we'll see that in just a moment. If that is true 33 cal, which is the technical size of double-aught. But this tells you not to use these in a gun with a shorter than 3.5 inch chamber. Obviously, maybe use with any choke. Best results with full. I think best results actually with double-aught is a 680, which is a little bit tighter than 12 gauge full, but that's a whole different story. This side of the box is the same as that side, and the back of it is just a bunch of safety stuff, nothing to see there. And this side tells you not to place 20 gauge shells in 12 gauge guns, don't place 12 gauge shells in 8 gauge guns, all that very basic rudimentary stuff that everyone probably knows not to do. Maybe not so much the 12 gauge and 8 gauge, but definitely the 20 and 12. But yeah, there's our box. Relatively simple, kind of bland Remington green and yellow box. Nothing special, but this is special. 3.5 inches. Never seen so big. Very cool looking shell. Obviously, Remington green and gold. Express. Kind of hard to read. Magnum. 18 Pel for pellets, obviously. Double-aught buck, Remington, max 1050 bar. These are probably loaded to max pressure or near. 3.5 inch, 89 millimeter. We have a really nice 6-point fold crimp that is very uniform. It is kind of dished in a little bit, but yeah, no taper at all. It is just straight square on top. Remington don't really do tapers for the most part, but it is sealed very well. It doesn't have a sealant on it. What I meant by that is the crimp is well formed, no pinhole, nothing like that. Although I do see one little speck of buffer. If you guys can see it, let me know. I'm sure you can. But yeah, no bulging anywhere of the pellets. High brass, although we know this is brass plated steel. Remington primer, it says Remington 12 gauge. Fairly typical Remington hull here. How many times can I say Remington? But yeah, just a regular express hull, this time in 3.5 inch. Again, this is my first time ever seeing these in person, so I'm kind of excited about them. But without further ado, what do you say we crack one of these open and see how they threw this together? I am wondering if they have an actual wad in here. Apparently, I can't confirm this because I don't have any at the moment. They're 2 3/4 inch 9-pellet double-aught. Those do have a legitimate wad in them, shot cup and all. The 3-inch version, I don't think it does. From what I can tell, it doesn't, but I don't know that for sure. As for future me to test out, the place I got these did have the 3-inch version, 15 pellet, but I'm really curious to see if this has a wad in it. Let's get to it. Alright guys, I have not weighed the payload weight yet, but we do actually have a wad in here. Now this is the exact same wad that we find in the Nitro turkeys, both the 3-inch and 3.5-inch version. But if you haven't seen those, go check them out. The breakdowns on the Nitro turkeys, they're very interesting to say the least. But yeah, same wad. Honestly didn't expect this to have a wad in it. Now that's got me thinking, I have not looked at the powder yet. Is this just a Nitro turkey with a different size shot in it? This is a double-aught, obviously. Did they just replace the bird shot in it with buckshot? Who knows? So for a lead payload weight here, we have 1.981 ounces, which is basically 2 ounces. Obviously, this is not 33 cal. If it was, it would be very close to 2.2 ounces, just a hair under 2 1/4. This is very likely 32 cal. Let's measure that real quick. And it comes out to 321 caliber, 321.5, somewhere in that area. But yeah, basically 32 cal, which is no problem at all. That's the size most factories use for their 32 cal, or double-aught. Now these are slightly out of round. It depending on angle you take the measurement at, it can range from like 328 down to 313 it was. So yeah, these pellets are out of round, but they are the weight of a 32 cal pellet. And here's a better view of them. You can tell these are not exactly the most round pellets out there, especially that bottom one. It looks like it's been beat with a hammer a little bit. But that is very typical of Remington buckshot. Nothing bad, nothing great, just right down the middle of the road. So for a charge, we have basically 33.5 of, this is a little bit out there for Remington, a ball powder. This looks just like LS, and that charge would totally make sense if you guys know what we're referring to as LS. Well, then I guess you know. But yeah, looks just like it. So if that last sentence made no sense, I apologize. But obviously we have a straight wall shell, yellow base wad, and it is a low base wad because the primer is sticking up above it a little bit. Yeah, low base wad, yellow, regular straight wall 3.5-inch Remington Express Haul. Nothing out of the ordinary at all here. And these are full length 3.5-inch shells, unlike some other brands. That brings up the question though, do you guys want to see us put together a very similar assembly as to this right here? Also, if you guys have ever shot these and patterned them, how they work for you? I have never seen anybody put these on paper before. But if you guys want to see us do that, also let us know. For what it's worth, these do stack by twos in here, and surprisingly 12 of them sit inside of that shot cup. It is a relatively tall shot cup. But yeah, 6 are out. I'd say these actually do pattern pretty well. But let's get it thrown back together and see what it looks like then. Well guys, here it is put back together. I did not put any sort of taper on this. All I did was crimp it on my reload all. The damage right here I did with the pliers. These are kind of tough to pry up if you didn't know. They have kind of thick plastic. But yeah, it looks just like it did when it came out of the box. Again, no taper at all. If you guys want to see us pattern these, again, just let us know. We will absolutely do that. Both of us love 3.5-inch, whether it be 10 or 12 gauge. And our bread and butter is pretty much buckshot. So, I mean, so yeah, needless to say, I actually have kind of high hopes for these. I'm really anxious to see how these do. But yeah, guys, that's going to end this one here. We want to thank you for watching. We'll see you in the next one.